Hello everybody, welcome back again for another special Facebook from the Mara Triangle. We've just got a crossing underway here. We've watched a small wildebeest be dragged underwater by an enormous crocodile. There's a crocodile lurking in the shadows here, and the pressure is starting to build on these animals, and I think they're about to take the plunge. A few of them are in. We haven't seen zebra cross before. Here we go. There, the zebra is now swimming. You can see how deep the water is. It's probably at least 5 or 6 feet there, and there is a crocodile lurking right around where that zebra is. The others in the herd have turned around, and because it's so deep there's the croc. Did you see the croc's tail? That was the croc's tail coming up. There, he's after the zebra now. He's now picked up on the zebra, and the zebra is now not able to get out of the water there. The bank is very deep.
There's 2 crocs.
2 crocs. Oh, there we go. That's that. Oh my goodness, that's unbelievable. We just watched a kill, everybody. That's the 3rd one we've seen. Gosh, that was fast. So that was a tiny little zebra. Jenny, you say this is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. Oh my goodness. It's almost, I mean, one hesitates to say this, but it was so fast that you don't even notice there's a tiny little zebra under the surface of the water there. Now, probably sucking the Mara River into its lungs, and it's going to be dead very soon, if not already. A massive, massive crocodile. Michelle, you say, oh my gosh, absolutely. And I mean, we watched this yesterday. We watched that crocodile totally incompetently trying to catch those wildebeest. I think it's the little ones, you know, it's the little ones without the strength, combined with that very steep bank, that's allowed the croc to drag that little zebra under the water. And now they've all watched it happen. You can see they're very reticent to get into the water. It seems to be here far more the zebra that are pushing to try and cross. And if you look, Graham, if we can look across to the other side there, there's another massing on the other side. We don't know why they're coming to and from, why they're crossing all the time, because it doesn't seem the grass is the same on either side. Kelly, you say, how many crocodiles are we? Here they go. Here go the rest of them now. We don't know how many crocodiles there are, Kelly, because they hide under the water. We've seen at least 10 here. Here we go. Now you see that's a much bigger zebra, but the water is very deep there. This is a stupid place for them to cross. Look, look, look. I think they felt something there. So what they were doing earlier on is they were crossing slightly further to the left of where you're looking now, further and sort of behind, where it's slightly shallower, but it is wider. And they're being conned here by the fact that the river is narrower here, but you can see how deep it is. And when they can push off the ground and thrash about a bit, it's then that the crocs, I think, struggle. But when it gets deep like that, there's almost nothing they can do, because while they're very good at staying afloat and swimming, they're not maneuverable in the water. Now, Marit, you say, why are they crossing from both sides? I don't think anyone can answer that adequately, because there is grass on both sides of the river. There is water in the river, obviously, on both sides. So this incessant need to get to and fro across this river is not really explicable. Because they won't stay on one side. They'll keep going from one side to the other throughout the season that they're in this Mara area. Yeah, now Kathy, you say, as we look at that crocodile, you say to see this on documentaries is one thing, but to watch it live is quite another. It is, and we're learning so much about it. Already my impressions of how these crossings work, why they happen, when they happen, how effective the crocodiles are, what their hunting strategy is. So listen to the zebra there, has changed profoundly from what we saw yesterday, from what we see now. And of course, being live, there's no editing here. We cannot predict what's going to happen. We don't know. We're discovering this basically at the same time as you are as well, because we haven't, I mean, I've been here less than 2 days. While we wait and see what happens here, we're not far from where we last did our little broadcast, and there are, we're not going to be able to show you this with a camera, I don't think, because there are a number of vehicles around us, but I can see elephants way in the distance.
Anyone can get those.
You can get those. Quintessential elephant shot. I'll keep an eye on the crossing, everybody. Look at them there. Isn't that amazing? Walking through the heat haze. And Jackie, you say, we're seeing and doing amazing things. We are seeing utterly astounding spectacles. The kinds of things you only see in documentaries, and you imagine that it must be very difficult to see. And you know, we've just pitched up here, obviously at the right time of the year, and we have witnessed spectacles the likes of which I didn't believe existed. Absolutely astounding stuff. And some drinking going on there. I mean, hello Sinead Wales Bailey. I wonder where you're watching from. Are you watching from Coral? Good to have you with us. And you say, wonderful to see the difference. Well, Sinead, with your enthusiasm for African wildlife, let me just tell you, you have got to come up here one day. You cannot not just experience this on the screen. You need to come and experience what is possibly one of the world's most unbelievably beautiful and astounding places. It really is something else. I still am struggling to compute what I saw yesterday, let alone the 3 kills I've just witnessed in this water now. Brian Brown, you want to know the crocs will attack the elephants? No, crocs will think twice about attacking elephants. It's possible, especially little ones. But those elephants are 6 tons, some of those bulls. A big crocodile probably weighs in the region of, I'd say a really big croc, around about 1.2 tons, 1,200 kilos. It's not going to be able to drag down an adult elephant. It's like those 2 bulls we saw walking across the clearings there. And now this endless cycle of indecision continues. What's going to happen? Are they going to go across? Are they not? Why are they coming? They're coming from both sides. Both zebra and wildebeest, for no noticeable reason. There's endless fields of red oat grass both sides of the river. And Susie, you say you're so happy you can see this live. Yeah, it is a real joy to be able to bring this to you, especially on the back end of a relatively simple sort of technical. It's not actually that simple, but the setup that we've had to do to make this happen has been relatively painless. And I just think that's brilliant. It bodes so well for what we're going to be able to do in the future, how much other things we will be able to do, hopefully. So this is just the beginning of a long journey of sort of tracing, I suppose, the wildlife spectaculars of Africa. Deborah, you want to know if we're going to be on drive in a couple of hours? We will, hopefully. I mean, the idea is certainly that we are. We will try and find probably a crossing like this and see what happens there. Because this kind of thing, if you can find this kind of thing going on, my goodness, it's worth just sitting. And you know, even while you're waiting for the action to happen, just looking around you is wonderful. And Angie, you want to know if the crocs will fight over the food? Yeah, they do fight over it. There you can hear the zebras shouting at each other. That's an alarm call normally. And you want to know if they will fight? Yeah, they do fight. But not a huge amount here. They did fight over the little wildebeest that they took down. There's another emergence of wildebeest coming down onto the banks there, Graham, just to the left. And the wildebeest will provide quite a lot of pressure from behind. There are lots of animals up on the bank. And of course, if you're a lion, the kind of woodland that fringes the river here, that's where you want to be at this time of the day. Yes, Judy H., you're absolutely right. This is precisely what it demonstrates. You say this seems to demonstrate herd behavior quite profoundly, quite well. It does indeed. This is precisely the herd effect, I suppose. Now, they're coming down the other side, Graham. If you can see there, one or two more wildebeest are coming down towards the water. Some wanting to go east, some wanting to go west. And Mary, you say so much anxiety in these animals now. Yeah, I guess there must be, but you know, the crocodiles have now been hidden under the water for the last 3 or 4 minutes, and you can see as the crocs have been under the water, so the animals have kind of almost not forgotten the danger, but they're certainly being conned into thinking that they've disappeared. You can see them now starting to move down towards the water. There's a bit of panic on the other bank. They've all run back the other way. Marit, very good question from you about whether or not mothers in this kind of situation would try and protect their youngsters. The answer is no, and for 2 reasons. One, they're not maneuverable in the water. They're they're strong swimmers. They can swim in a straight line and stay afloat, and that's not a problem. But they can't turn and thrash and fight, especially if they can't touch the ground. So they're actually unable to defend their youngsters. The second thing is, there's no point in them defending them, because they'll almost certainly be killed themselves, and if that happens, the youngsters don't make it, and then neither of them make it, and they don't live to have another youngster. And so, no, it's very seldom will you see a concerted effort or life sacrifice from a mother animal when their youngster is threatened. Just amazing. It's probably about 30 degrees Celsius here. Very pleasant temperature. That's, well, maybe not quite that much. It's probably about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a very pleasant temperature. We're sitting in the shade overlooking the Mara River. And for those of you who perhaps have just joined us, we're in the Mara Triangle. It is part of the vast Mara Serengeti ecosystem, which is about 20,000 square kilometers, or 16 or 12,000 square miles. And now there seems to be a general dispute. See, they're moving away from the river now. Perla, you want to know how long the migration takes? The migration is actually, it's a bit of a misnomer. It's a continuous movement of all these animals that happens to be in this area of the Mara Serengeti ecosystem at this time of the year. And so it continues all the time. They'll be here until October time, and they'll disappear down to the eastern fringes of the Serengeti, and then they'll go down to the south of the Serengeti, and then they'll come up to the western Serengeti, and that whole process takes roughly a year. They'll be back here probably in July next year. So it's a continuous process that goes on and on, but it's not predictable. These crossings are not predictable. We don't know where they're going to cross, and what's going on here, just in case you thought that this is kind of a once-off movement across the river as part of the migration. It's not. They've come into this area and they cross the river, because this cuts the Mara, the northern section. It cuts. You hear that striped donkey making horrible noise. You say, sorry, Marit, I'm just lost my train of thought there as I saw that thing yelling at us. So it's not a. This northern section is cut in half by this Mara River, and the animals cross, while they're in this area between July and October, they cross continuously, up and down. We often don't know why on earth they're doing it, but they do it. And I think I think a few of this herd that we're looking at there have made it across the river, and that crocodile that you're looking at now is stopping them from joining their kith and kin the other side. Hello, Jenny. Nice one about the crocodiles, of course. Now, very few people are asking questions about crocodiles, mainly because we tend to think of them with a certain amount of distaste. You say, do they eat their prey under the water? Generally they do, but they don't eat it straight away. Crocs cannot chew. They have an incredibly powerful bite, but they cannot chew. And they cannot gnaw like a lion can. So they have to wait for their prey to rot. And so what they do is that they leave it under a rock somewhere under the water, and there it will rot, and then they'll go back and eat it once the flesh has sort of started to fall. And that's how they eat, and so that is under the water, almost universally. Do you say there are no traditional crossing points? Yes, absolutely there are. This is one. And I mean, there are many where you can see that the ground has been eroded through the millions of hooves that go running over those areas every year. But they come to and from. And so while you can drive along to traditional crossing points, you don't know when the animals are going to be going to and from across the river. But yes, there absolutely are traditional crossing points, and they're basically defined by the geography of the area. So, you know, how easy it is to get up and down the banks on either side of the river. Now these chaps are coming further and further down towards us, thinking about coming across. Mary, you say small stampede. Yes, this is what they did just now, and as Graham and Peter and I observed yesterday, and Graham cajoled us because I said let's leave. I didn't think they were going to cross yesterday. He said, well, they're a wildebeest and water, and they look like they're going to cross. If you wait long enough, they probably will. And here we go, look at this. There's a great mass of animals now coming down to the water's edge, and there are even some elephants behind them. Do you want to know, do the crocs know these crossing points? They do. You say, do they learn them? But I think they learn them. Yeah, absolutely they learn them. And the biggest ones live around the crossing points. We've just watched one, though. One of these huge things. Oof. You see what happened there, everyone? One of them obviously went down to drink, and then a croc leapt out and tried to grab it. And you can hear the elephants yelling. And missed it. Look, they've caught something. Or they're fighting with each other. Maybe they were just fighting with each other. But that's, you see where it's sitting there, just on the surface of the water? That's exactly where those zebra and wildebeest were drinking. It's exactly where a crocodile is able to just sink below the surface and make it impossible for the thirsty animal to see what it's doing. So they would have snuck slowly closer. As the animals came slowly down to the water's edge, so those crocs would have been sneaking closer to the shore, totally undetected, until they came out and tried to grab one by the muzzle. Hello, Rita. You say at times like this you're grateful for your insomnia. Well, Rita, we are even more grateful for your insomnia, so thank you for being an insomniac. We are now going to leave you this time round. We'll keep you posted, obviously. If anything else happens, we'll come back live. Otherwise, we'll see you during the